Hello and welcome to week 2 of building online community with social media. I'd like to take some time here to summarize and reflect on some important elements of our first week of community building and warm you up for week 2. By now, I hope you have each found at least one person in our class who shares something with you. Perhaps you have the same level of online teaching experience, teach a similar discipline, work nearby, have lived in a common location, or have similar personal experiences. Getting connected on a personal level to your classmates is an important step in building community, and the Myth Fact discussion forum in which you all participated was an example of an online icebreaker activity, which plays an integral role in forming the foundation of online community. I think about these early threads of community as being somewhat parallel to the how you doing comments and the connections that are made in an actual classroom as class starts and ends. These connections play an important role in fostering a sense of belonging for individual students, and it's important to really think about how we can start to integrate that into the online environment as well. Now, when you're the facilitator of an icebreaker, the most critical thing is to ensure that each and every participant receives a reply to the post that they make. Research has shown that students who participate in icebreakers but don't receive any contact from anyone in the group experience end up end up feeling left out or excluded, and that's definitely not a successful way to foster community. So your role as a facilitator in the online icebreaker is to keep everyone involved and feeling connected to the group. After the foundation of community is established in your class and you successfully integrate collaborative and personalized learning activities, which we'll be focusing on from here on, you'll find that your students are more motivated and more engaged, and you'll find that most will participate more willingly. I will never say all, but I will say most. They'll participate more willingly without your constant nudging. This is a sign of successful group development, and we'll talk about these stages later on in the class. First, I've got a story here that I'd like to share with you, though. One of the important concepts woven into week 2 is social presence. I had an epiphany about the importance of online social presence after I'd been teaching online for about a year. It was a hot summer afternoon, and I was attending a graduation ceremony at the college where I was teaching. That particular semester, I had taught about half of my full-time load online. And as I sat there at the graduation, listening to the names of the students being called, I felt excitement and pride at the prospect of seeing my students in person, my face-to-face students as well as my online students. I was excited for them, and I really wanted to give them a big congratulatory handshake. Then the ceremony ended, and I, along with all my colleagues, stood and lined the walkway where my students were exiting the audience area. And it dawned upon me, in the form of sadness and disappointment, that I couldn't congratulate any of my online students because I wasn't able to recognize them. I also realized as I stood there that they were walking right past me because they couldn't recognize me either, and that bothered me. As a teacher, I understood how important those personal connections are for inspiring students to stay motivated and to encourage them to do their best and follow their dreams in life. So that's the moment I identified a new goal for myself, to overcome that obstacle. For the year prior to this experience, I had been already recording weekly voice announcements each week for my online students, and students liked that a lot, and so did I. But I knew it was time to move on to video to enhance my social presence and foster more of those relevant personal connections between student and instructor. So I began creating weekly video announcements, just like this one, by using my webcam to record my weekly announcements, rather than recording them as audio files as I had been doing previously. I simply created a free account at a website called vidler.com, which is just the site I used at that time, and YouTube offers the exact same feature, but I find personally that YouTube has some hiccups when you're recording from a webcam on a Mac. There's a really unfortunate delay between your words and your lips. So that's why I don't use YouTube. Then after that, I would type my announcement in a word processing application like Microsoft Word, open the document on my screen, log into my Vidler account, which again would be the same as YouTube, click record, and read the announcement off my screen, just like I'm doing now. When I'm done, I would save the video, copy the embed code from the page that the video's on, and paste that embed code into my course management system. And this works fine in Blackboard, Moodle, and any other course management system. The steps are a little different depending on the system you're using though. The file size of the video, and this is important, is actually supported by the site where you have the video housed. So for example, Vidler or YouTube. And the video appears seamlessly in the online course. And that's the beauty of embedding. I made it a point to always share the text transcript to ensure students had a choice in how they accessed announcements for accessibility or 508 compliance, but also because I know there are some students who access our units from locations where audio is disruptive. My students absolutely loved it. I had one student at the end of the class who shared, "Seeing your face pop up every week was the best part of the class." But then at the end of that semester, I had even more evidence of success. I was driving my car into the parking lot on campus, and before I parked, a young man was walking up to my car. I opened my car door and he said, "Hey, you're Michelle. You are my online art appreciation instructor." Success! We had a great conversation, and by the way, I immediately knew who he was too because of the photographs that he had shared on his page in the Ning network that we were using in that class. As we talked, I asked him about his new baby, which I remembered he had just had a baby, and I also inquired about which museums he'd be visiting in the coming months. He mentioned to me how much the video announcements helped him stay connected to our weekly content, and that was really all the proof I needed. Really, these video announcements take me only the time to record them and no more. Consider it for your own classes, especially if they're playing a role in keeping you connected in this class. The Voicethread discussion from week 1 is really looking great at the time of this recording. I've left several comments within the Voicethread in response to some of your questions. If I miss anything, please bring them directly to my attention in the Q&A forum. I do hope you enjoy the rich and interactive communication space the Voicethread offers. Next week, we'll take some time to compare it to other asynchronous collaboration tools, so start thinking more about this as you dig into the week 2 content. Also start thinking about specific activities for Voicethread that place student collaboration at the center of the learning and that you could use in your own class. If you need more ideas, check out the Browse area of Voicethread's website, or as Vladeta, and I know I'm still saying your name wrong, recommended this week, or I should say last week, click on the link at the top of the Voicethread website that says Ideas for Using Voicethread. That will take you to a helpful library of Voicethread samples that may spur some ideas for you. Also, Judith made an important point in our Q&A forum in week 1 about how Voicethread compares to a discussion forum. The types of learning activities that are most effective in a Voicethread do not translate directly to those that you would craft in a discussion forum, and that's really, really important to start thinking about. I find that Voicethread is most effective for reflective conversations or critiques when the emphasis is placed on one's individual contribution rather than on the back and forth exchange that occurs after that. Or assessments of a student's mastery of concepts or ideas, particularly when they can be assessed orally or by having students use the doodle tool. It's those non-traditional types of assessments that I think become really strong and effective with Voicethread, and those are usually the things that we struggle with in the traditional course management systems. It's important to understand those unique characteristics of any tool before designing a learning activity with it. And thank you for taking us there so quickly, Judith. This week we move further into our community building journey by tapping into the topics of social presence and personalized learning. I hope you enjoy the week 2 book, Can You Feel It, and are energized by the next social media tools we'll explore and evaluate, which are Ning and Twitter. This week, you'll have a chance to check out some flourishing, fully established Ning networks. One of them is Classroom 2.0, a Ning network created by Steve Hargadon, someone who I greatly respect and admire, that in just a couple of years has grown to more than 55,000 educators who are connecting to explore the potential of Web 2.0 tools in education. If that network intrigues you, you have the option to join, as it is an open network that does not require a special invitation. But you do need to join if you'd like to comment or add content. Then you'll have a chance to join a closed Ning network that I've created just for participants of this class to explore and experiment. Again, imagine yourself as a student in an online class being provided this network by your instructor as a space to connect, communicate, socialize with classmates. But more importantly, think critically about how you can use the tools within Ning to achieve the learning objectives within your own class. For example, each member in Ning has his or her own page. And that page includes a blog, it includes a place to share photos, and it also includes a place to share videos. You can customize even if you want those options there. You could take the videos out, for example. How could you incorporate a weekly or a regular activity or a semester-long project into that student's page? I think there's a lot of really fascinating opportunities there for non-traditional assessment forms. Ning has been a favorite of mine for years now, but about a year ago, they threw a wrench into their service when they elected to stop offering free networks. But the free option has returned, at least for the time being, through a partnership that Ning has formed with Pearson. Pearson is approving free Ning mini networks for use in higher education in North America. Our network is an example of a mini network that's funded by Pearson. And the best part to me about this partnership is that the annoying advertisements that used to be featured in the free Ning are now gone, which is really great. So I hope you enjoyed checking that out, and I'm happy to answer questions as we move forward about Ning, Voicethread, Twitter, and the rest of the tools we'll be digging into. Have a terrific week 2. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me directly.